Tonight, in the political game, we go behind the scenes and see how Parliament runs its own radio and television networks.
This is the paranoid part of the day.
We get some news tips from a cameraman.
Don't knock anyone over, don't hit anyone.
We'll hear some frank opinions from Māori journalists.
To get a pay rise, you need to perform.
And see how the pioneering Wahine Māori members of Parliament are given their place of honour in the House. To some outsiders, Parliament might appear to be a self-contained little world, isolated from the life of New Zealand inside a political bubble. A bit like one of those old snow globes which were once fashionable tourist souvenirs. But the New Zealand Parliament has in fact committed considerable resources to break the bubble and to broadcast its activities on radio, television and the internet. The parliamentary website is comprehensive and tells in detail just about everything anyone might want to know about the people in Parliament and the procedures and protocols which make the complex machinery run smoothly.
The House comes to questions for oral answer. Question number 1, the Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Putting parliamentary debates, the cut and thrust of question time, and the work of select committees into an entertaining and digestible form is the task of parliamentary radio.
While MPs on the Foreign Affairs, Defence and Trade Committee were hard at work hearing...
Hosted by veteran broadcaster and political journalist Tom Fruin, assisted by Rhys Lyon.
We make a daily and weekly radio program, and so it's aired on a range of stations, Radio New Zealand, access stations, community stations, student stations also play it.
What goes on in Parliament doesn't get actually a lot of coverage outside in the other media, who are more concerned with politics. Covering Parliament is like panning for gold. Much of it is dross and boring. It's our job to find the highlights and the interesting bits and the important bits and condense them down into a short period so that people can feel that they know most important things, the most interesting things that have happened during the week or the day.
New Zealand was in fact the first country in the world to broadcast Parliament.
For the first time in the history of New Zealand broadcasting, the microphone has been introduced into Parliament itself.
Previous speakers held the respect and esteem of every member of this House.
New Zealand was also an early adopter of television in Parliament, with the ceremonial opening being shown in 1962. Today, there is live coverage of Parliament and scheduled repeats of question time on parliamentary sitting days. Parliament TV broadcasts more than 17 hours each week and is available online and on Sky and Freeview.
And what we're doing here is just checking the roll, which is order of business that runs at 1:40. It replaces the overnight roll, and we just read it and reread it and reread it, because like any good proofer, the many times you read it, there's always going to be something that catches you out. So this is the paranoid part of the day. Great, that's good to go. Well, we've got the 2 studios here that remotely control the 8 cameras that are in the chamber. Every member's seat has got 2 cameras that are pre-programmed, so that if the director says, I want to see a member such and such, one of the operators punches in the key for that, and 2 cameras remotely will lock in on that member, and the director can pick and choose the shots. The standing orders, which are the rules of the House, prescribe very clearly what you can and cannot show. And Appendix D of the standing orders, which I should know by heart, late night reading. Effectively, for instance, as an example, if there's a bit of disorder in the House.
Order. That is exactly relitigating what I've just said. I now ask the member to leave the chamber. I ask the member to leave the chamber.
The default shot is to show Mr. Speaker until order is regained and Mr. Speaker gives the call, as to say, entitles another member to speak, and then we can go back to a wide shot and we can go to a shot of the member with the call.
We come now to questions for oral answer.
It's not unruly, as you might compared to some of the Eastern European countries. You look at some of the footage on YouTube of those foreign parliaments, we're very, very, very mild in comparison. And if you look at camera 7, right at the back top right-hand corner, there's a rectangular strip. That's the glass through to the radio booth. That's where the sound is operated from by Radio New Zealand contractors. A rule of thumb is don't wear a white shirt in there because you can be seen by the members.
Speaker's mic standing, check. And speaker sitting, check. This is group 1, check, check.
There's actually a microphone button for each of the microphones in the chamber. I guess the most important thing is following the sort of the standing orders of who's allowed to speak and who's not allowed to speak. If the speaker is on their feet, no one else in the chamber is allowed to speak. And what happens is that we actually turn everybody else's microphone off if the speaker gets to their feet. Even if it's the Prime Minister or someone important like that, you have to turn their microphone off.
I think the member should do this. I think he should get on his feet and he should say, John, on Saturday night, I went on TV...
Order, order. Prime Minister will resume his seat. Order. 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 Order.
You always try and keep one eye on the speaker to see if he's sitting and listening or if he's on his feet and taking control. And you keep your hands on the faders and riding levels, switching microphones on and off. The hardest part of the job here is basically to concentrate. There are quiet times, for instance, during long speeches, where you're not actually busy, but you just got to always keep an ear out on what's happening and be ready to do something. Because at any moment, someone could be in the middle of a 10-minute speech and you could get a point of order.
Point of order? Point of order, the Honourable Chris Finlayson.
I'm the acting leader of the House and therefore a very low form of parliamentary life. I acknowledge what Mr Shaw has said. I'll raise it with the office of the Leader of the House and I'll accept responsibility for it even though I know nothing about any of the circumstances.
You can look at the order paper for the day, the day's business on the order paper and think, okay, it's going to be like that. Well, good. Okay, nothing strange happening at the top. Straight into the questions. We've got one on behalf, number 11. That'll be Christopher Finlayson. And then you get a heads up that there's going to be something happening and you go, oh, okay, righto. So you start whispering in the ears of the director to say, be prepared for this. Or you don't get any heads up and it happens and you have to deal with it. But you do get caught on the hoof sometimes and have to wing it. Parliament TV is important because it's an immediate way for the public to access our Parliament and the proceedings, what's happening. It's democracy in action. It's people being able to access our politicians, see what they're doing and hear what they're up to. I find it exciting, but then I'm a political junkie.
While what's broadcast and televised from the debating chamber is strictly regulated and controlled by parliamentary standing orders, outside on the black and white tiles it's more or less a free-for-all. Very different rules apply.
Everyone can jump in on anyone else's interview. There's no sort of rules around that. The only rule is don't knock anyone over, don't hit anyone, and you're pretty good.
Cameramen like Dave Graham have to be on their toes and pushy enough to stay in front of the competition.
You have to be pretty quick to grab the politicians. They only come in pretty fast. So you've got to have a bit of a game plan. You've got to know who you're dancing with before you get into that dance. You've got to get in there. You've got to get your best shot you can. Generally, it's the first one in. You'll get the best frame. And then if you don't want to be stuck on the outside trying to get over the top or trying to, do this sort of stuff or, You know, it's a little bit tricky that way.
He hawa whakaaro ki tērā, he karo kei te haere?
No, kai raro I te kōhatsu e huna ana, mena kāri I whakarongo ki ienei kōrero, he ka mā.
We have a lot of Māori MPs, obviously. So, you know, over the years, you build, you know, some good relationships with them. So they know, you know, they know my face, we know their faces. And despite whether it's a good story, you know, good news story, bad news story, they'll stop for us, and you know they'll be able to talk to him and stuff. So yeah, it is a bit of a bonus.
Ko puta Kelvin Davis ko tāna.
For the journos of the gallery, there is a daily dance with a varying cast of politicians.
As Māori journalists speaking te reo Māori, interviewing in te reo Māori, I think we get different answers from the MPs.
Every reporter is looking for a scoop, a breaking story, or an angle which will put them ahead of the competition.
It's a hard knock life, and you are trying to get ahead, not just for yourself, but for your whānau. This is your career. You are trying to make a name for yourself, and so to do that, you need to come up with exclusives. You have to be leading the pack. There's just no room for sharing unless we're all on the same story. Kei te pai tēnā. But if it's something that is yours, something that has been told to you exclusively, you absolutely run with that and break it and own it and drive it. I do it for my whānau, I do it for my children, I do it for our future, because to get a pay rise, you need to perform.
Every
politician is looking for the opportunity to get their views across and to avoid a mistake or verbal slip, which will start a media feeding frenzy.
When you get a wall of cameras in your face, questions can come from anywhere. I think you just have to really address each question at a time. You know, it's good when you're talking about an issue that you've really got your head around and you can speak with authority and certainty. But it's quite hard when something happens, like say something's happened this morning, and you're hit with it and you just don't know what's going on. It's best just to say, well, first I've heard of it, look, I can't comment. Yeah, but many reporters are quite persistent. You know, they want you to say something, and then yeah, you put it. Sometimes if you put a word out of place, or you know, get a word wrong, then you know the emphasis is on that. But sometimes, you know, I've made stuff up, said the wrong thing, but it hasn't been reported. Probably because they only have like 5 seconds to report what you're saying, and they probably move on to something more interesting. But if you can't encapsulate something in about 5 seconds, well then you will be ignored, and so you've got to have those sound bites, and sometimes I know myself I'm too earnest and explain things too much, and I guess people just go, oh God, boring.
I mean, I've got a lot to say about the media, but you've got to be careful because these are guys who are going to be reporting me. So if I slag them off at any stage, then I can't expect to get any decent coverage and or, you know, being reported about in positive ways. So we have to be careful what we say. That said, I have taken them to task a couple of times.
People look at us and they approach us like we're out to get them all the time. Look, it's tough, and we do it to politicians, and we go at them because we feel we have to, and it's our responsibility.
I don't think they're entirely unbiased, but I think the media are essential. They actually uncover a lot of things, they highlight a lot of issues.
I think if you tried to sort of play hardball like you do in Parliament, down on the marae, you'd get a swift warning, and you could even get kicked off the marae because they're a different tikanga. But the tikanga in this whare, I think, a lot more flexible when it comes to a stronger approach.
You know, one day they're going to turn on me because I'm going to stuff up somewhere, somehow. You know, it's just human nature. And you've just got to expect that, you know, and it'll be hard at the time. But, you know, again, it's just the nature of politics. You know, I think in this job you've just got to be really philosophical about things, that you have some good times and then you have some bad times, and your bad times are really public and it'll be embarrassing. But, you know, you just try and do your best so that you don't stuff up.
We've had some media who have reported that the Māori Party said this or Māori Party said that, or Tūroro or myself have said something as absolute rubbish. it was not correct. In fact, it was factually incorrect. And they came back and said, oh, sorry, that was just a mistake. And so then they make a correction on the website, but it's too late. It's already gone off around the nation. People have picked it up and thrown it across Facebook. Facebook is the new newspaper. It really is. And if media don't get onto that, they need to hurry up and do so. Because what happens is that opinion pieces and blogs and somebody's slanted view with no facts at all is being broadcast across social media, and our people read it as a newspaper and believe it to be so.
I get quite hoha with the criticism that's aimed at journalists. I think that much of the time it's unwarranted. I think that we do a bloody good job 99% of the time, and I don't think there's any worker in the country that does a good job 100% of the time.
You know, whakaaro Māori and tikanga Māori, we won't do things if this place dictates to do it, if we're not comfortable with it as Māori.
Māori media have been amazing. They break down their news items into the bites of the stories, and then they'll put them straight up onto Facebook and they get shared. TV1 and TV3 News haven't got that sophisticated yet with their social media interactions about getting that out there, because Māori media is being shared around Facebook over and over and over again every day. I don't have to watch the news anymore. I just go to Facebook. It's all there.
Well, it's a game of politics. What bigger game is there than a game of politics? You know, this is the ultimate game. This is strategy. This is persistence. This is the people that run our country, and we're a part of that game. I feel privileged to be in those situations, to be able to ask those questions for our people. So I think it's the game of politics.
He flies in from Auckland to attend Parliament, but he walks to work in the capital to get his mind clear for another day in the House.
It's a good way to sort of unwind and unclutter your head.
National backbencher Alfred Ngaro, a Cook Island Māori, is one of the 7 Pacifica members elected to the House.
So we've got, I'll touch base with the staff and then got procedures this morning. So we talk about what the business of the day is, what we're doing in our different select committee meetings, and question time, any other issues that may arise. Then from there, we've got select committee, so I'm on the Commerce Select Committee today, so we've got a meeting from 10 to 1:30, and then got half an hour to quickly grab a bite and then straight into the House for 2 o'clock for question time. And then pretty much it'll be the rest of the day question time. There'll be speeches in the House that we've made. And we do that right through to 6. Then from 6 o'clock we've got a 6:40 flight, so it's a big rush, mad rush out to the airport. Just catch a 6:40 flight, so you've got, you know, less than 20 minutes to get to the airport in time, run onto a plane and back up to Auckland. So yeah, so it's pretty full on. Morning, Mike.
Ngaro sees his Polynesian ethnicity as a bond which crosses the party lines and which create a common cultural awareness between Māori and Pacifica.
That's convenient. Thank you. Probably one of the most important parts of my day is that as I walk down here and into my office, I always say morena, because really this is a reflection of all our tipuna, you know, that have been here before. And I look along here, you know, I see the Thomas Carrolls, the Saparana Ngata, Sir Peter Buck. These are all Māori members who have been part of Parliament.
I mean, these are guys that were multi-talented, but they had cultural capital that they could bring to the debate.
I feel like I say that they're telling me that, well, now that we've created this pathway for you to be here to represent, you know, our people, and our communities, then do the best that you can. You know, work hard, work smart.
I grew up in Ponsonby originally, so born in 1966, the old St Helens Hospital, so as part of that Polynesian migration. My grandmother was half Jewish and half Cook Island. Dad was a labourer, Mum was a cleaner, and so we're a working class family. Dad was working 2 jobs, Mum was working 2 to 3 jobs. We were often going over to the Newton Post Office and cleaning ourselves as kids. So for us, it was around family, it's around work, it's opportunities. Went to the PIC church over in Ponsonby, and so we did those. So faith was important to us in the sense of those beliefs. And so we really, Mum and Dad sort of instilled that in us, that we work hard, we work smart, but most importantly, we work to get ahead and to make a better life and a better future. So as they say, that the sacrifice they made in coming here and the work that they were doing was so that we could be the legacy that lives on, from them.
Supplementary question, Alfred Naro.
Are there other independent housing affordability indexes to that of Massey University, and if so, what do they show?
When we're in the house, I suppose that's part of our cultural sort of values that we have, where sometimes people can be quite insulting in the house. They turn around and they throw insults. Where I have noticed that, in the 5 or so years I've been here, that both the Māori and the Pacific members of Parliament, they don't insult each other like some of the others do. There's an element of respect. And then also too, debating is different to the way that we know when we exercise our oratory skills. So when you stand up, you listen. Whereas when you're debating, what you need to do is that, and I've had to learn this, you have to become a good listener. You have to hear what the other side is saying. And then part of your debating skill is then to be able to, maybe attack or address some of the issues or challenge them as well. So that's different for us. I know for Māori and Pacific, we just seem to be what I feel is a lot more respectful in one sense. However, we can sort of maybe get a little bit cheeky to each other, and but never insulting.
So there we are, the end of another week, Alfred. So that's your papers for the next few days.
Oh, great.
So if you...
Bit of light reading before I go to sleep.
Just a little, just a little. I've kept some back.
Yep.
I didn't want to give it to you all. So
thank you.
I'll catch you on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So, we'll just keep in touch. Give me a ring tomorrow or Monday if you need to.
Okay.
And if you want that flight changed over the weekend, just give me a yell and I'll get that changed for you.
I will do, yeah.
Okay, so try and get a little bit of R&R.
Sorry, you're breaking up. I couldn't hear what you said.
And no emails at 2 in the morning.
Oh, gee, who does that?
See you next week.
See you, Linda. Have a good
Cheers.
weekend.
Bye.
Ka kite.
Orunga tapata Māori tau tau ngāna ko tau tau ngārangi tau tau ngā wa opuri te mai wa o tāwia mai wa.
Parliament is a place where the contribution of Māori is celebrated. It's recognised with Māori tikanga and symbolic objects woven into the decoration of the house and infused into the Westminster traditions inherited from colonial times. While Mr. Speaker no longer wears a traditional barrister's robe and a judge's full wig, David Carter does wear a korowai.
My predecessor, who was Lockwood Smith, had a doctorate gown from the Adelaide University. He did a PhD. So he used to wear that, and that became his symbol. I haven't got a doctorate, I've got a Bachelor of Agricultural Science, so I decided what else could I do that would be a signal of my time as Speaker. I have no Māori blood in me, but very, very proud of the Māori culture. So I said to Laikaliwi Te Atiawa, if you could develop something like a korowai that was small, insignificant, but of significance to me, I'd be delighted to wear it. So this is the result. So I wear it every question time and for official occasions. And it's become very much something associated with my time as Speaker.
And inside the Parliament building, there is just one space which does not come under the control of the Speaker. This is Matangireia, the old Māori Affairs Committee room opened in 1922 by the then Prime Minister Walter Massey. A large panel that reproduces the Treaty of Waitangi is mounted on the wall, alongside portraits of significant Māori members of Parliament. Today, its custodian is the Māori Party leader, Te Ururoa Flavel. While there is a new Māori Affairs Committee room close by, the old room is about to get some new taonga. Today's ceremony is the unveiling of the portraits of two prominent former Wahine Māori members of Parliament.
It really is about our history of Māori in Parliament, and the history of two very significant Wahine Māori. The first Māori woman Member of Parliament, Iriaka Ratana, and the first Māori woman Minister, Whetutera Kātene Sullivan. And it's been wonderful to be part of a Parliament and part of Māori across the House with the Minister, Tūroro Flevel, acknowledging that contribution. I think there'll be a lot that can come from this because it did force us to come together, to hui, to whakawhanaungatanga, and so for me this is just the beginning of other projects and other initiatives that we can work on together regardless of political party. I mean, I think that's the other thing. It proves that we can actually work together.